Welcome to the last instalment of Happy Stitchmas 2023. This is going to be a bit of a shorter one today, and it's going to take two parts really. I'm going to talk about the present and the star, and then I'm going to show you how to soak away the stick and stitch. And we're going to need to leave that to dry for a bit before we can finish off our hoop ready for display. So to start off with, I'm going to do the present at the bottom. As you can see, I've already started mine, and I've chosen to do satin stitch with detached chain stitch bows, and these are just straight stitch ribbons over the top. I'm going to do satin stitch on this last one again. I'm going to try something slightly different with the ribbon this time though. If you didn't want to do satin stitch, you could just do a lovely back stitch outline and just have the ribbons in the middle. That would look very nice. Or you could fill them with chain stitch. That would also look good. So I've decided to do this last one of mine, the lightest shade of green. Now, as you may be able to hear, I'm still really not feeling very well. So my energy and enthusiasm for stitching is being buried under the weight of all the other things I have to do at this time of year. As much as I love stitching and I love Happy Stitchmas, I really wanted to get this video done before my voice completely disappears. So that's why I did a lot of the stitching off camera, because I'm really not feeling my best, so it's taken a while for me to get these three presents done. I did have some ideas that I would do a mixture of colours. So for example, the way that this one is split into 4 different shapes because of the ribbon going down, I did wonder whether on some of them I was planning on doing this one colour, this a different colour, so these 2 diagonals matched, almost like a checkerboard effect. I also thought it'd be quite nice to do a striped effect, to do the satin stitch in 2 different colours, but on a diagonal, so you'd get different stripes going across. I thought that would look quite good, but I just didn't have the mental capacity to attack that one this week. So I've just gone for normal satin stitch to fill the presents, and I've tried to choose a mixture of colours from the wrapping paper to the ribbon so that they stand out against the tree and the rest of the background. You should have plenty of thread left to choose from. And then with the ribbon, I used a different colour, but then I did a nice detached chain stitch for the ribbon effect. It does take quite a lot of thread to do this satin stitch, because you're covering the whole of the back and as well as the front. So you do need to make sure whichever colour you choose, you have got enough to finish off. I'm trying to use the illustration underneath as my kind of guideline to keep my stitches straight. This is quite a big space to fill with satin stitch, but I haven't bothered with guidelines. You might want to, like we did on the robin. So I'm just going to do get my thread started for my second one. And what I thought I would try with the ribbon this time is, instead of just doing a straight stitch, I'm going to try and do a whipped running stitch. So I've got 2 different colours of going through my ribbon. That is the plan. We'll see how successful that is. Feels like the thread that I have just put my needle is not. Yeah, look, That's how awake I am. I've done a completely different colour. I could do different colours to my wrapping paper, but that's not the effect that I want. So let's try that again. So I've now threaded up with the correct colour, which is always useful. So as I said, once we have finished our stitching, we need to soak away the, oh dear, that's really wonky. We need to soak away the stick and stitch, and then you will need to leave your embroidery somewhere to dry for about 24 hours. It may not take that long. You may have your heating on. You can put it on a radiator if you want it quicker than that. But yeah, just to dry off before we can finish off our hoop. So just bear that in mind if you're planning in when you're going to do your stitching this week. You need to plan in when you're going to leave it to dry before you can finish it off. If you want to get it finished for a particular time, or you wanted to display it before you get guests, or if you wanted to give it as a gift, just bear that in mind. I think that'd be a lovely gift to give someone, to say that all the way through December you've been working hard on this lovely embroidery and you'd like to give it to somebody. I think handmade presents are lovely, but you have to make sure that the person you're giving it to appreciates handmade, otherwise you can feel a little bit like they don't appreciate your hard work. So make sure you choose your recipient carefully if you decide to give it as a gift. Okay, so I finished mine. I tried doing two colours with whipped running stitch with green and gold, but it didn't work very well. So instead I've just done a plain straight stitch with the gold, and now I'm going to do detached chain stitch for the ribbon. To finish it off, this one has got 4 bows on the top, making it nice and froofy. And again, as we did before, when we were doing these loops along this row, just be careful when you're pulling it tight that both of the strands are lying flat to keep the shape of your loop. Oh, I can tell I've done something peculiar there. What have I done? Right, I think I've not gone through both loops, so let's go back through. Yeah, so I've gone through that loop, but not that one. There we go. Did get a comment on the Stitchmas 2, Stitchmas 2 video when we were doing these. The lovely Ali wrote that she used just one strand of the gold to do her bows and it worked really well, so maybe that could be an alternative. I did think about using one strand for doing this, but I didn't think that one strand would show up enough against the satin stitch of the green, so I decided to go for 2. Slightly regretting that now, Ali. I should have listened to you. But what I wanted to say was thank you for your comment on the video, and please, if you do get a chance to leave me a little comment on my YouTube video, it would be great, because for 2 reasons. One, it makes me really excited and happy to see that someone has left me a little comment. And the other thing is it really does help YouTube to kind of like me. If they see that someone's commented, if they see that there's any kind of interaction, then it means that my videos turn up in more searches, and generally it's better for me as a small little business. So if you could leave me a comment, even if the comment is, Donna, why did you bother using gold again after the problems last time? Oh dear. Then yeah, I would really appreciate it. Oh, good gravy. Yeah, that's going to take a little bit of untangling. Oh dear. I was hoping to avoid having to unthread my needle again, but there is no chance with this disaster. Right. Something has definitely gone awry here. How I wish that this one had only got 2 ribbons on the top. Okay, so I'm going to have to unpick this, but it doesn't seem to want to. So I've done my straight stitch in gold now because I didn't like the look of the green. Now I'm just going to do my detached chain bows on the top to finish it off. This one has got 4 bows on the top, making it nice and froofy. And again, as we did before, when we were doing these loops along this row, just be careful when you're pulling it tight that both of the strands are lying flat to keep the shape of your loop. Oh, I can tell I've done something peculiar there. What have I done? Right, I think I've not gone through both loops, so let's go back through. Yeah, so I've gone through that loop, but not that one. There we go. Did get a comment on the Stitchmas 2, Stitchmas 2 video when we were doing these. The lovely Ali wrote that she used just 1 strand of the gold to do her bows and it worked really well, so maybe that could be an alternative. I did think about using 1 strand for doing this, but I didn't think that 1 strand would show up enough against the satin stitch of the green, so I decided to go for 2. Slightly regretting that now, Ali. I should have listened to you. But what I wanted to say was thank you for your comment on the video, and please, if you do get a chance to leave me a little comment on my YouTube video, it would be great, because for 2 reasons. One, it makes me really excited and happy to see that someone has left me a little comment, and the other thing is it really does help YouTube to kind of like me. If they see that someone's commented, if they see that there's any kind of interaction, then it means that my videos turn up in more searches, and generally it's better for me as a small little business. So if you could leave me a comment, even if the comment is, Donna, why did you bother using gold again after the problems last time? Oh dear. Then yeah, I would really appreciate it. Oh, good gravy. Yeah, that's going to take a little bit of untangling. Oh dear. I was hoping to avoid having to thread my needle again, but there is no chance with this disaster. Right. Something has definitely gone awry here. How I wish that this one had only got 2 ribbons on the top. Okay, so I'm going to have to unpick this, but it doesn't seem to want to. I did it. I had to turn the camera off because I was going to start swearing, but yes, I've done it and it was worth it. It does look very pretty and sparkly. And now we are going to go on to the very final excuse me, piece of the Happy Stitchmas, the star at the top. So I'm going to attempt to do my star stitch with the gold, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some lines to this with a pen, because each section we're going to do individually. So I'm just going to split up my star like that so you can see that visually. I'm going to start at this top one and do that section, and then do each of the sections the same. So, okay. I'm going to start at the one side and bring my thread up to the point, but just to the kind of right of the point. And then just to the left of where we've just put that in, we're going to take it and go across to the right hand point. Stitches decided to come off. I'm then going to come up again at the left hand side, just slightly underneath, a bit like doing a satin stitch, and I'm going to take my stitch across. Oh, I want to make sure that my stitch goes outside, doesn't split the thread that's already there, and that it lies flat across the top. Come up at the bottom right. Okay, I'm going to do a diagonal across like that. So it's a bit like doing a satin stitch, but you're doing it diagonally across. So I'm going to come back down here and take it up to that side. And you can see that it's starting, you can see the crossover in the middle. Just trying to keep your stitches kind of even on both sides. Going to the, oh, pulled some thread through from the back. Going to the end now, because my last stitch diagonally has gone to here. So I'm just going to do one more stitch across to this side. Okay. If you can see, it's got a lovely 3D kind of fishbone effect. So the idea is that you are going diagonally across, and you should finish with all of the sides completed. So I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to start from this left hand point. And go across to just right of the top point of the star. Make sure it's lying nice and flat. And come out to the left of that point and put it down to the right hand side of that triangular bit of the star. And then we're just going to repeat that. So I'm going to come up along this edge to go across there, and then that. So you're looking at making sure that you keep a bit of a balance as you're going across. Just going to cut that. It's a bit long and it keeps on getting caught in my gold stitching, which is not what we want. Where was I? Right, so I'm going to now go across like that. Left, across to the right, right, across to the left. Okay, so I'm discovering that I cannot sew and talk at the same time, especially with this gold thread. Let's hope, because I have tried recording several times and it's all just gone a bit wrong. So I'm going to see if this goes okay now that I have started with a new thread. I find that after I've used it a couple of times that the gold thread just gets too scraggy. And it's best to start again with a new one. So I hope this is brand new bit of thread, and I'm hoping that's going to make all the difference. So what I was trying to say was thank you so much for joining me for Happy Stitchmas 2023. I hope you've enjoyed taking part. Some of the feedback that I've had has been absolutely lovely. I'm glad that you have enjoyed the pattern, that you received your kits okay, that you like the colours, and that you're enjoying the little sew-alongs. So yeah, so all I was wanting to ask was that if you have the time, if you could leave me a little review, which I can use on social media or on my kits in the future, then that would be great. Either if you just leave it in a comment on the YouTube below the video, or if you leave it on one of my Instagram posts, or email it to me, or send it to me in a message, then that would be great. Also, if you have any suggestions of ideas of sew-alongs that you might want to do in the future, then that'd be great. I've never really done sew-alongs. I'm not sure whether I'd like to work on the same pattern, or maybe just have an opportunity to kind of share what you're working on. I'm not sure how that would work, but yeah. So finally getting to the end of this star, and obviously on one of the points, I think it might have been my second point along, possibly even this first one as well, I haven't gone as far into the centre as I should have on the lines that we drew onto the stick and stitch. I haven't quite gone into the middle far enough, because I have got a bit of a gap here. So it should have gone all the way into the middle like this on all of the points, and I think on this second point I didn't. So I'm going to do a cheeky bit of fixing, trying to fill that gap in now. Just another little crossover. Ooh. Just to fill that gap in. And then I'm going to attempt, famous last words, I might attempt a French knot. Sorry, look, I've gone over my tail. This is where the fates are telling me, Donna, don't push it. Don't push your look. It looks lovely and sparkly as it is at the top of all that lovely stitching. But I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try and do a French knot in the middle, just to cover up any of the little gaps that might be there. So So I think that will just be the finish that we need. Oops, a daisy. It's quite slippery, this thread. So make sure it's in the right position of where I want it to be. Here we go, come on. Pull it through, will it go? Yes! And there we go. Finished the stitching. I hope you are pleased with yours. I'm very pleased with mine. Whenever I look at that gold, I'm going to remember that as just perseverance. Brute force, a bit of ignorance, and perseverance. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is remove the stitching from the hoop to soak away the stick and stitch. Okay, so I brought my embroidery, I've taken it off the hoop and I brought it over to the sink, and I'm just going to show you how to wash away the stick and stitch. Oops! My very precarious setup here. I don't want to drop my camera into the sink. So what I'm doing, which is quite hard with one hand, there we go. So I'm just holding the fabric underneath the water. I move the, there we go. And I don't know if you can see, but the soluble backing is beginning to come away. And if you just hold it under the water, it will just come off. It will just soak away. Okay, so I have soaked off all of the stick and stitch now, so you can see that there is no more of the stabiliser underneath it. I've got a tea towel out here, or you could just use a normal towel. I'm just going to flatten out, try and stretch it out. I mean, we probably will need to iron it later anyway, but just stretch it out. And then we need to make sure that the stitches have not been too bedraggled by the force of the water. So what I've got, so I've got a cocktail stick. You could use the end of a, oops, excuse me. So I've got a cocktail stick, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently, you can use the end of a needle or anything that's kind of sharp and pokey. It's not going to damage it. It's not going to leave a mark. It's not like a pencil or anything. I'm just opening up any of those stitches, particularly these ones at the bottom, because these are the baggiest, because we left them quite nice and wide. Just making sure that they're lying nicely so that when they dry, they don't dry wonky. I've still got a little bit of the dissolvable stick and stitch just on my gingerbread man's eye because it's looking a bit white, so I'm just picking that off. And if you do notice any more, I'm going to make sure that any of the stick and stitch kind of, it might be a bit shiny or white hiding, you can just wipe it away with the end of your cocktail stick. But I'm fairly happy with that, so I'm going to leave that to dry now. As I said, you can leave it to air dry. I'm actually going to go and lie mine on the top of a radiator to make it a bit quicker, and then I will show you how we're going to finish off our hoop. My hoop is now dry. My fabric is now dry and I have hooped it up. So what I did was, once the fabric was dry and I was happy with the stitches, I just lightly pressed on the back with an iron to just get rid of some of those wrinkles. To be honest, I could have done it for a bit longer, but I was in a bit of a rush. I then hooped it back up, making sure that I'm happy with how it sits on the frame. And to be honest, as I'm talking to you now, I'm not happy with how it's sitting on the frame, because I would quite like that star to be central. That makes sense to me, that should be the top, so that should be central, a bit more across than that. maybe it was when I was tugging it because I thought I'd got it in the middle. Yeah, so spend a bit of time making sure that your design sits where you want in your hoop, because once we've sewn the back on, it'll be really tricky to make changes. Not impossible, but tricky. Okay, so I'm going to tighten that up again now. And then just pulling the fabric through to just try and get it as flat and as tall and as wrinkle free as you can. So once you've done that, before you hoop it up, using the inner hoop, draw round onto your felt. So I've actually drawn it so that it fits in the back there. So I laid my inner hoop onto the square of felt, drew inside the circle and cut it out. Then hoop up your design. And what I've done is I have trimmed around the edge about an inch around the edge. Doesn't need to be perfect, it's just rough, because what we're going to do is we're going to use our strong thread to just curl all of those corners in before we put our felt in the back. So when you're happy with that and you've trimmed, you're going to need the strong thread from your kit. Now I've kept the thread in one big long piece. It is very long. You can fold it in half and cut it into two if you want. But we're going to use this thread to do the running stitch around and then to attach the felt. So I just like to keep it all in one piece because I'm lazy. But if you want to fold it in half and cut it, then you can. So starting at the top, make sure you've got a knot in the end. And you are stitching along this edge away from the hoop. So the edge furthest from the hoop. And we're just going to do a running stitch through both layers of the fabric. In, out. Does not need to be neat. Does not need to be consistent stitches. Nobody's going to see this once we put our felt backing on it. So don't worry about it. So I'm just weaving my needle in, out. And pulling through. To start off with, it's going to be a little bit tangly, especially if you've kept your thread all in one, like me. But it's only one strand and it does not twist like the DMC cotton that we've been using. It can be a bit fiddly, this bit. I'm just going to go in and out, all the way around, and then draw that fabric in. If you have a longer needle, if you've ever done sashiko, you have a sashiko needle or a darning needle which is longer than this, then this would be a good time to use it. Ooh. Hands are too slippy to pull this one through. This is where I need a thimble. I've never got on with thimbles really. I find them a bit painful. I've stitched all the way around now and I'm just going to gently pull and gather that fabric in. And then just secure that with a little stitch at the top so it doesn't get loose again. Really is a lot of thread here. There we go. Now it's time to put our felt backing on. So that should sit nicely on top of there. It will want to sink in a little bit, and what we're going to do is as we stitch around we're going to pull it to the edge to make this nice and taut as well. So starting at the top, I like to start and finish line there. So I'm going to bring my thread up here, coming out the top just underneath the screws where we tighten it. Okay, zoom in a little bit. Okay, so holding my felt in position, and my thread is coming from the white cotton fabric. I'm going to take my needle into the green felt directly opposite, but I'm going to send it diagonally. So it's going to go into this green felt and into the white cotton, and it's going to come out diagonally about half a centimetre away from here. So in, slide it through, and it's coming out about half a centimetre just in front, right on the edge of that wooden hoop. Pull it through. Now, when you're at the top, you do just have to be careful that it doesn't loop around the mechanism. Oh, mine didn't. Normally it does. So we're going to try to, as I said, we need to stretch this felt as we're going so that it stretches out and becomes taut. So I don't want it too floppy. I'm going to keep it that close, and I'm going to go in straight opposite where it's come out, and then send my needle through the green felt, through the white fabric, and out just in front of that wood, about half a centimetre further around. Now this time it did get stuck on the mechanism, which it likes to do. And what I should have said, sorry, is that if you didn't keep your thread as long as mine and you did do it in other halves, then obviously finish off your first thread, start a new one. There should be enough there to get you to go all the way around. So now we've done 2 stitches. My first stitch is there, my second stitch is there, and you can tell that if I pull it, you can barely see them. That's what we're going for. So, straight opposite and along. Now, as you can see, the felt is not evenly spaced. So as you're going round, you need to try and keep it in position, and you are pulling the edges out to the side so that it stretches across there. Now this is just going to be the backing against the wall, so it's not as if people are going to be turning it over to look at this. So if yours isn't very neat, don't worry. It's just a nice way to try and finish off your hoop so you can't see the stitches. Some people like to write their name or a date, something from the back. Obviously we've got the date on the front if you decided to put 2023, or if it's a gift for someone, you could write the message on the back on the felt before you stitch it on. I'm just going to continue that round all the way around until we get back to the start. To finish off, I'm just going to do my thread straight back up again to where it's come out, through that loop, to make a knot at the top. And I'm just going to do the same again, just go over those stitches again, through the loop, just to make it extra secure, so it's like 2 knots on top of each other. And then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to put it down between the felt and the fabric. Oops, a bit further down, felt and the fabric, and then out through the felt. It's a bit more awkward than it should be. There we go. And then that's basically going to bury the extra thread and my knot inside. Just cut that off. And that's the back done. And that's the front done. And that is Happy Stitchmas 2023.